Danny Horn's blog post, Superman 2, 2.51, hated the first, loved the second, highlights a recurring pattern among 1981 critics. Enthusiastic praise for Superman 2, but often at the expense of the original. Time magazine's Richard Schickel called it that rarity of rarities, a sequel that readily surpasses the original. Many critics agreed. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. The New York Times called it royally entertaining. And ever since, many have remembered it as the superior sequel. But what if, behind the charm and spectacle, something essential had been lost? How did Superman go from this?
What the hell is that?
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
To this?
Let's go get him!
Yeah, I know some judo. Come on, let's go.
Come on,
Okay,
everybody!
everybody, whatever you can find, let's go.
Since 1981, I've been pondering the great question. Why is Superman 2 such a flawed movie compared to Superman 1? Over the years, many theories have been offered. Donner versus Lester, tonal imbalance, too much comedy. But none have identified a clear, unifying principle that explains everything. Then I came across a blog post by Muppet Wiki co-founder Danny Horn, analyzing the infamous blowdown scene in Metropolis. He observed how the danger to bystanders is constantly undercut by comedy, ice cream gags, KFC customers losing their dinner, and a man refusing to hang up in a hurricane-force wind. Danny's point was that because the Kryptonian combatants are invulnerable, the drama's focus needed to shift towards the danger to civilians. But the civilians are comedically oblivious, so this erased any possibility of tension. This wasn't a problem in director Richard Lester's earlier film, The Three Musketeers, because its combatants were mortal, and therefore background comedy did not undermine the tension. But beyond the tension lost, it was Danny's focus on the people of Metropolis which brought to mind something Jor-El said in the first film, a message for his son about the value of humanity.
They can be a great people, Kal-El, they wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason above all, their capacity for good. I have sent them you, my only son.
This was the breakthrough. I could step above the gags and above the lost tension and finally see the root issue. Superman's purpose had been undermined. And from that vantage point, everything snapped into place. The diner revenge, the sketch comedy bystanders. These weren't disconnected flaws. They were symptoms of a film that no longer understood who Superman was or why he mattered. Getting at this root changes everything. It frees us from the overly simplistic director swap arguments. It gives us something we've never had before, a consistent lens to understand why some moments in Superman 2 still feel right and others don't. Take Superman's apology to the president. It's sincere, uninterrupted, no comic relief, just accountability, and it works.
I won't let you down again.
The blame Lester argument doesn't work here, because this scene was directed by Lester. But why does it work when so much else doesn't? To answer that, we need to go back to what Superman means and why that meaning matters. The meaning of Superman is that he protects because humanity has value. This is the moral core passed down by Jonathan Kent and Jor-El. When you undermine that value, you dilute the meaning of Superman himself. Superman 1 upholds the value of humanity throughout. Superman 2 falters, flattening bystanders into punchlines and using Superman's power for personal retribution. In trading moral clarity for audience gratification, the film forgets the lesson that gave Superman his meaning. Watching Superman 2 feels like watching Lois caught between Non and Ursa. One side pulls towards sincerity and purpose, the other towards punchlines and chaos. It's a tug of war between respecting the core and neglecting it. The result can be heartbreaking. Scenes that echo his purpose, that carry the emotional weight we remember from the first film, they're there, but they're scattered, isolated, and the deeper truth is, they only make the rest of the film feel more lost. That's where the frustration comes in. Not that it's all bad, but that it could have been great. Donner's moon scenes from Superman 2 work because they respect the lives being threatened. They uphold the seriousness of the danger, which in turn justifies Superman's role as protector. Don't do it, the people isn't just Superman pleading with the villains in the story. He's yelling through the screen at director Richard Lester, begging him not to forget what this world is supposed to mean. The bystanders in Superman 2 are essentially invincible by comedy. They have no story value beyond their one-dimensional sketch roles. No real harm can come to them, because their suffering would have no weight, and that hollowness rebounds onto the hero. If the people he protects are treated as jokes, then what does his protection mean? Superman is fighting for people the film itself doesn't believe in. People too busy roller skating, cackling, or clutching KFC bags to take part in what has stopped being a story and become a parade of sketches. It's not just a tonal mismatch, it's a thematic abandonment. The helicopter rescue in Superman 1 is a perfect counterpoint. It shows how Donner's approach to tone, crowd behavior, and emotional stakes grounds the fantastic in a believable world. The crowd in that scene reacts with fear, awe, tension, and relief. They gasp, they point, they panic. Even the pimp, while played for a quick laugh, fits within the emotional logic of the moment. He's not there to undercut the stakes, but to accent them, a brief moment of levity in a tightly calibrated sequence. The humor works because the world around it feels real.
God, look up there!
What the hell is that?
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Give me another plate of this garbage.
Garbage? That's my #1 special, Rocky.
All right, eh?
The diner scene in Superman 2 is tonally and philosophically out of step with Superman's ethos. It might be intended as crowd-pleasing payback, but it undercuts the grace and restraint that define Superman's moral code. Rocky poses no real threat. He's a bully, not a villain. By retaliating after regaining his powers, Clark shifts from protector to petty avenger. It's a rare moment where even Donner compromises the mythos he otherwise worked so carefully to uphold in the first film. Brad is Superman 1's Rocky, but handled with restraint and purpose. He's petty, antagonistic, and dismissive of Clark, yet the film never indulges revenge. Clark's frustration is acknowledged, but Jonathan's presence and values anchor the moment. Clark doesn't act on that impulse. Instead, he internalizes it as part of his growth. It's a beautiful contrast to the diner revenge in Superman 2, where Superman shows restraint guided by moral clarity. Superman 2 flips that lesson. Clark does act on the impulse, and the story treats it like a victory. The Brad moment becomes a foreshadowing of a temptation resisted. Rocky is the version where that temptation wins.
I'm terribly sorry about all the damage, sir.
There's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason. I don't know whose reason, whatever the reason is, you know. Maybe it's because, I don't know. It's, but I do know one thing. It's not to score touchdowns.
In Superman 2, every gag, every moment of petty revenge, each becomes a kind of metaphorical touchdown, even when they betray this foundational lesson, that power must be guided by restraint and purpose. But there's no denying that for many, those touchdowns do work, and that's okay. For some, they're enough to make Superman 2 a fun and rewarding experience. But for others, there's a persistent unease that's hard to shake. Not because we don't enjoy fun, but because we felt something was missing, something that mattered, something that Jonathan Kent tried to articulate, and something the film couldn't quite hold on to. Thanks for watching.